President Rooney, Provost Grivats, our graduation speaker, the Reverend William J. Barber II, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, family and friends of our graduates, and most importantly, members of the graduating class of 2021. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to Loyola University Chicago's annual commencement ceremony. The College of Arts and Sciences is the oldest of Loyola's 14 schools, colleges, and institutes. More than 150 years since its founding, the college is home to 18 academic departments and 26 interdisciplinary programs that span an array of intellectual pursuits, ranging from the natural sciences and the computational sciences to the humanities, the social sciences, and the fine and performing arts. Home to the departments that anchor the university's core curriculum, the College of Arts and Sciences seeks to prepare all of Loyola's students to think critically, to engage the world of the 21st century at ever-deepening levels, and to become caring and compassionate individuals. You can be extremely proud of what you have accomplished as a student during your academic career at Loyola. You were introduced to ways of thinking that are different from those you grew up with, discovered new and exciting ideas through the core curriculum, achieved mastery over a chosen academic area of study, participated in extracurricular activities, developed your professional abilities, and made lifelong friendships. This and more serves as the heart of our Jesuit-inspired education and what it means to be a graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences. You also have the distinction of graduating during the COVID-19 pandemic. Your resilience and creativity were truly impressive. You not only met, but surmounted the academic challenges associated with the pandemic, including navigating online classes, undertaking research and writing papers in a virtual environment, and creating community in unique and fascinating ways. You are part of an exceptional generation of college students. As students, you have achieved an amazing number of accomplishments during your time at Loyola, but I know that you would be the first to acknowledge that you did not do this alone. Let me therefore invite our graduates to offer a warm round of applause for our extraordinary faculty and staff who guided you during your studies. Most importantly, please offer another round of applause for the people who really made all of this possible: your parents, your family, and your friends. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2021. I would now like to invite our student speakers, Madeline Drescher and Taha Dean, to provide remarks. Madeline is receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and is graduating summa cum laude. Taha Dean is receiving a Bachelor of Arts in History and is graduating magna cum laude. Welcome, Madeline and Taha.
Thank you, Dean Schrader. I've been thinking a lot about hope this year and what that word even means anymore. Never in my college search process in my wonder-filled first year at Loyola did I think we'd be graduating in the midst of a global pandemic. I didn't think the first presidential election I'd be able to vote in would be deemed the most important election of my life. I didn't get that the climate crisis went beyond the switch to reusable straws and water bottles. I didn't get the prevalence of hate and discrimination and racism persisting in our societies because I haven't had to face it. And I surely didn't get the ways these issues intertwine. It's felt like every day a New York Times headline crosses my phone screen that crushes any bit of hope or happiness that I had in me for the day. And this year especially, I found myself longing for a time where I didn't know, when I was a kid living in blissful ignorance, when the world still excited me and gave me hope. I don't know when my wonder for what the world held turned to doom scrolling. A political philosopher, Antonio Gramsci, said, "The challenge of modernity is to live without illusions and without becoming disillusioned." Our challenge, I think, is to understand all of the ways our political and economic systems are intentionally at work against us, and specifically people of color, yet simultaneously attempt to convince us that the root of all our problems is just that we're not working hard enough. It's our job to understand all that weight, but not let it crush us. To understand the systems we inevitably play into, but not become discouraged, or worse, a willing participant in them, that we give up on the fight altogether. I don't know that there's an easy way to do that. So I find myself wondering about hope. And not cheap hope, not everything happens for a reason hope, not this is all part of a grander plan of the universe or some deity hope, but hope that can sustain for more than just to make us temporarily feel better or absolved of guilt or responsibility to do something about it. Not hope for a comfortable return to a new normal now that we can see the light at the end of this tunnel of the pandemic. Not hope that lets that light blind us from the harm and the loss and from the revelations and growth of this last year. But hope that can mean something, that can promise change, that wonders where we go from here or what our world could be. And I don't know the answers to those questions, but I think there is hope in just asking them. I think the moment we stop wondering where we go from here or what our world could be, I think that's how we know we're disillusioned. As Loyola students, we're no strangers to this fight. Time and time again, we've seen each other show up for one another, sometimes when it felt like our university wasn't showing up at all. And we've especially seen Black students and other students of color show up, extending often uncompensated labor to lead the community toward a better Loyola for all. We've seen this in the Black Cultural Center, we've seen this in student government, and we've seen this in our streets. We've seen other student organizations like the Student Environmental Alliance continue the fight for Loyola to divest from fossil fuels, and Students for Reproductive Justice fighting for the reproductive rights and health of our peers. I didn't learn social justice or what being a person for others meant from the student promise or orientation or a class or from reading about the Jesuit values online. I learned it from all of you. I learned what going to the margins or walking with the youth toward a hope-filled future or cura personalis really means from you. Hope. Hope that there can be more than what we know now if we keep fighting. Hope in you and in me to continue those fights as we branch off into our postgraduate lives, but for our roots to remain in what we fought for at Loyola and for our roots to remain in one another. Go forth and set the world on fire, right? We've heard it a million times here. It always felt kind of daunting, a bit undoable, a bit disillusioning, if you will. But a staff member in campus ministry has phrased it a little differently to me. It's go forth and set some small fires that mean a lot to you. And no doubt, we've set some in our time at Loyola. So maybe if we all go do that, we set some small fires out on our own branches, we can set the whole world ablaze together. Until that glorious day, and I look forward to it, I beg us all to just keep asking where we go from here. Just keep asking what our world could be with our help, and hold on to and relish in and channel the hope that inherently exists in just asking the question alone. I would now like to introduce Taha Din, who is receiving a Bachelor of Arts in History and is graduating magna cum laude. Welcome, Taha.
Thank you, Madeline. While it would be unfair to suggest that our class was special, it would be naive and even ignorant to suggest that we weren't unique. Magic was in the air the moment we stepped foot on campus. It was in every IC all-nighter, every imaginary movie scene by the lake, and every sitting session in Damon. Remember the Final Four run? What a magical welcome to Loyola that was for us in our first year. Those feelings of excitement and pride were unmatchable, and they brought us together. Funny how now, with the same feelings of excitement and pride, we sit here digitally in an eerily fitting environment, making our exit on the complete opposite spectrum of those emotions. Rather than having those emotions characterized by ecstasy and elation, they're marked by confusion and uncertainty, a massive void within all of us. Two experiences filled with the same emotions manifesting themselves in different ways, but nevertheless, still managing to find a middle ground in, well, our unity. Much like the virus, which took things away but also brought blessings, the duality of our experience is what made us so unique. We lived in two realities over the course of 4 years: a world within us, characterized by our passions, interests, and desires, and a world around us, testing and exposing us to a variety of experiences. Few graduating classes can say that the first half of their college experience was a dream, and the second half a curveball. We experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, but what made it special was the privilege to go through it together. Throughout those highs and lows, I think it's fair to say that we all struggled to find who we were and who we wanted to be, constantly hyperfixated on the idea that the two were mutually exclusive, that the two just couldn't coexist. I used to wonder why my classes were so diverse, why students were flying thousands of miles overseas and across the country to study in Rogers Park of all places. Was it the pretty lake, the cool glass library, the Madonna at sunset? Maybe. Or was it because here, in this random north side neighborhood of Chicago, we were encouraged to understand that who we were and who we wanted to be were one and the same? Here, we were taught that while we all live two distinct lives in two personal worlds, we were given both the liberty and incentive to enjoy both. Here, we were meant to discover our duality and nurture it. Notice how we celebrate diversity while also prioritizing unity. Notice how we celebrate the everyday practicality of the Jesuit values while also shedding light on the importance of personal ethos. Notice how we are taught that there's a difference between a human being and being human. I never thought that being a Muslim kid at a Jesuit Catholic university was going to work out as well as it did. To be honest, I didn't even know what a Jesuit was 4 years ago. To add on to that, being a brown kid studying a liberal arts subject instead of something STEM related, come on now. I realized early on that the traditional path for someone like me was probably not at Loyola. But it was never really about the difference in faith or the non-traditional academic path I was on. Rather, it was about how those differences were embraced and celebrated. I knew that at Loyola, I had the freedom to explore myself and my capabilities regardless of my identity. On this campus, I had the freedom to pray 5 times a day while also going to a priest for advice regarding my own Islamic faith. On this campus, I could attend a medical club meeting, granted mainly to eat the free food, after doing research for a history course. On this campus, I had the opportunity to do so much because difference and diversity was appreciated. It was a privilege and an opportunity to embrace the duality of my experience, to cherish the knowledge I already had, while supplementing it with things I wanted to know and be a part of. By living in my two unique worlds, I realized that I wasn't here to find out exactly where I was going to end up, but rather, all the places I could go. Our Loyola experience wasn't about who we were when we walked through the green doors. It was never supposed to be. It was about who we could be when we walked out of them. Many see the internal struggle of personal duality as a conflict, but in reality, it's more of an opportunity to discover and embrace our complexity and our wonder, a chance for us to realize that we can be multiple things at once, a chance for us to realize that these feelings and desires can and should coexist. We were meant to be different. Our class doesn't fit into the cookie cutter, and we never did. Instead, we're the pieces that lie just outside of the borders, the pieces that might seem disheveled, but always taste the best. We're the ones who are motivated not only by the desire to succeed, but also by the adventure to discover what makes us different through our creativity, zeal, and desire. When we flip and leave as a collective into a new chapter of life, I know that not all of us are flipping to the same page. The Turkish award-winning novelist Elif Shafak wrote how there's no such thing as early or late in life. Everything happens at the right time. So now is the opportunity to unplug the life clock and remember that our energy and attitude determine our ability, not our age. And as we pick up our bags and leave, remember that on the way out, we also carry our backpacks of life with us, storing all the knowledge, experiences, memories, and emotions that we've thrown in and zipped up over the course of the last 4 years. The backpack gets tossed around frequently, it might have a bunch of random things in it, and it probably hasn't been cleaned out for years, but it's still a part of us. While we never got our final senior performance or formal or game or induction, we have this moment, and we have our backpacks, both of which last forever. With the overwhelming amount of celebrity boxing matches being publicized recently, I find it fitting to throw ourselves into the ring as well. In one corner, we have a global pandemic, which might be over by the time you hear this speech, a recovering job market, and an economy that's slowly picking up the pieces. But in the other corner, we have an unbelievably gifted and qualified graduating class, a fluid network of talented individuals capable of changing the world and contributing to the betterment of society. Sure, we may have taken some hard hits in the first few rounds. Sure, we're tired and wobbly, but we still have more rounds to go. And last time I checked, I don't remember us ever being the ones to get knocked out. We're going to get hit again. That's inevitable. But what matters is that we're going to be there to pick each other up. Always. And remember, that magic that we brought with us the day we stepped foot on campus, it's still with us. Yeah, our time here got cut short, but things aren't beautiful because they last. They're beautiful because they don't. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker. The Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II is the President and Senior Lecturer of Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Barber's dedication to fighting injustice is long-standing and recognized nationally through his speaking engagements, organized protests, and published books. Welcome, Reverend Barber.
I'm so glad to be with the College of Arts and Sciences here at Loyola University, even though virtually, and I'm so honored to say congratulations to the class of 2021. I acknowledge all of the students, all of the parents, all of the teachers, the professors, and I want to acknowledge your president, Joanne Rooney, the 24th president and first woman president in the university's history. I greet you on behalf of Repairers of the Breach, the church I pastor, Greenleaf Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, and also the Poor People's Campaign, the National Call for Moral Revival, where I serve as the co-chair with the Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris. I greet you on behalf of all the thousands of people that are connected to that movement and who are determined to go forward together and never one step back. Gracious God, help us today as we humbly attempt to deliver a word in season. Amen. I'm thankful by the grace of God to be here with you. Almost 40 years ago, I sat where you sit now at my alma mater. I attended a school that is the oldest public HBCU in the country, North Carolina Central University. And one of the great educators of that tradition of HBCUs, Dr. Benjamin Mays, summed up the sense of responsibility that our teachers sought to instill in us in a simple poem that says, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me, cannot refuse it, did not seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. It's just a tiny little minute, but eternity is wrapped up in it. Not long after I graduated from college in 1989, I began to move into ministry. And today, I call on you to remember and to think about that you only have that minute. So I want you to graduate today, get up, and get involved tomorrow. There are some who want to promote the lie that things are basically okay in our world. Yes, we were interrupted by COVID, and they suggest that's the problem, but things were fine before COVID. And yes, they say because technology has given us vaccines, and the economy in some way for some people is opening up again, and for some it was never harmed because we know now that billionaires made nearly $1 trillion, $2 trillion in the midst of this pandemic. And some tell us that brighter days are just around the corner for everybody, but as Chance the Rapper said, sometimes the truth don't rhyme, and sometimes lies get millions of views. And in this moment, you have to question the triumphalistic slogans we hear about the resilience of the economy and American exceptionalism. This is the world you're graduating into. We've lived through a pandemic year when the richest Americans saw their wealth grow, while the poorest among us lost millions of jobs. and watch their loved ones die at 3 times the rate of their wealthy neighbors. Meanwhile, some engage in attention violence, refusing to even look at the reality around. They just ignore it. And others see the problems, but they throw up their hands and say nothing could be done. And the truth is, life is hard for most folk in America and in the world. And something must be done about it. For some of you here, you are only the first or second generation in your family to even go to college, and no matter how you look on the outside, it was hard to get here and to stay here. It's hard out here for a student. And many places it's getting harder. That's why John Legend sings in a song, "Can't just preach. I can't sit and hope. I can't just sit and pray that I can find a love when all I see is pain. I try to do the things I say that I believe. I just can't preach, baby. Preach, whoa, oh, I just can't preach, baby. I just can't preach. I just can't fall on my knees. I've got to do something." For the past 3 years, I've been organizing people across this land for the Poor People's Campaign, the National Call for Moral Revival. I'm speaking to you today as I'm taping this, just coming back from Mississippi, the poorest state in the nation. I've been in the backwoods of Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky and West Virginia with workers in Bessemer, Alabama, with folks in the South who are fighting to keep new fossil fuel lines out of their poor communities, and in the Tenderloin of California, San Francisco, and right here in America. More than 140 million people wake up every day, even before COVID, living in poverty and low wealth. I've seen in homeless encampments and tenement buildings on native lands and back roads in the country, the harsh reality of poverty in the richest nation in the history of the world, which is why I know you must graduate today, but then get up and get involved tomorrow. You must do this when systemic racism is alive and well. Yes, the public lynching of George Floyd is systemic racism, and we give thanks that a court held his murderer accountable, but we still need federal legislation that holds all officers accountable. And we must see that racism, systemic racism, is not just when a cop kills someone on the street unarmed or wrongfully. It's also when a politician blocks a law that would create greater equity in wages and access to health care and housing and environmental justice. It's a grave injustice that a black person is killed in America by a police officer today more often than African Americans were lynched in the Jim Crow South. But it's also unconscionable that in the richest country in history of the world, African Americans have contracted COVID at least 3 times the rate of their white neighbors. And that even before COVID, 700 plus people were dying a day from poverty. This pandemic has exposed 2 great fissures in our society that were already there, systemic racism and systemic poverty, and we must do something about it. So you must graduate today, get up and get involved tomorrow. But that's not all. We see voter suppression that is systemic racism. Since 2010, over 22 states have passed racialized voter suppression laws. And the Brennan Center right now is tracking in this democracy over 300 voter suppression measures. Measures that say you can't even take someone a bottle of water while they're waiting in a line that shouldn't be that long in the first place. And measures that are saying that if people are protesting what you're doing nonviolently, you can drive your car through them and maybe kill one of them and be immune. That's why you must graduate today and get up and get involved tomorrow. When 400 people make an average of $97,000 an hour, and 3 people in this nation own more money than the bottom 50% of all the poor, and when 80 plus million people are without health care or are uninsured in America, people who pray not to get sick because they can't afford the treatment, and they watch politicians get up in places like the Senate and the House and open those places with prayer, P-R-A-Y, and then after they pray, P-R-A-Y, they pass policies that pray, P-R-E-Y, on those who are hurting the most. You must graduate today and get up and get involved tomorrow. Do you know we've had a mass shooting every week this spring? And some people still want to protect guns more than people. When we're in a society where it seems normal that senators are blocking a living wage, that Amazon is blocking unions, and that an entire party is blocking action on climate crisis and voting rights, even as corporations try to push new fossil fuel pipelines through black communities and brown communities and poor white communities all the way from Tennessee to Cancer Alley in Louisiana. And the National Chamber of Commerce comes out in support of voter suppression laws and blocking voting right expansion laws in the Congress. And when the people many times pushing these policy violence are blessed by so-called religious nationalists who say so much about what God says so little and so little about what God says so much. And when this distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism tries to be the chaplain of injustice rather than the critic of injustice, and does not ask the critical prophetic question, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? We know that there's too much rejection in America. And you must graduate today and get up and get involved tomorrow. This is the truth. When we see so much hate toward Muslims and gay people and trans people and people who are more interested in stacking the Supreme Court than keeping people out of caskets during COVID, when folk love tax cuts to the wealthy and hate raising the living wage for workers, the workers who are the poorest, who are the first to have to go to work into COVID and the first to get infected, the first to get sick, the first to go to the hospital, the first to die. We call them essential workers, but in their wages, in their sick leave, and in their unemployment, in their workers' rights, in their labor unions, we treat them like they're expendable. This is why you must graduate today, get up and get involved tomorrow. We need you. America needs you. The world needs you. We need you on the front lines for love, the front lines for truth, the front lines for justice. Class of 2021, you are graduating during a moral crisis in America and in the world, and I must tell you the truth, but I must also say you're not the first. The truth is, it had always been young people who have stepped forward at moments of crisis in this nation's history and world history to offer leadership that could push us toward a more perfect union and a better world. Langston Hughes was a young man when he realized he could not wait. He could not just work a job and ignore the world around him. So he decided to rap, we would say today, or write poetry that would lead to prophetic, poetic transformation called the Harlem Renaissance, and would call people to get up and get involved. In a time of moral crisis, Langston Hughes wrote, and I quote, "Who said free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all our dreams we have dreamed, all our songs we have sung, all our hopes we have held, all the flags we have hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, the Indians, the Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose head at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Surely call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our mighty dream again. America, oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rock and the ruin of our gangster death, the rape and the rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain. All the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. He was a young man in 1935. Young people have always stood up to remind us where we have come from, the sins we have committed, who we ought to be, and why we must get there. When Diane Nash was a young student at Fisk University, she became chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And Nash's campaigns were among the most successful of the era. The Freedom Rides, which desegregated interstate travel. She co-founded the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. She co-initiated the Alabama Voting Rights Project that was in Selma long before even John Lewis or Martin Luther King or any of them came there. It was her early work that set the groundwork. A young student that helped pass the Voting Rights Act. But it wasn't only young African Americans who led the civil rights movement. Like every moral movement in this nation here, the movement was young black and young white and young native and young brown and young and old and gay and straight. They were the we the people. I have a dear friend, Bob Zellner. He was the son of a Klansman from Alabama, repudiated his racist beliefs and joined the movement as a teenager, young white man. And after graduating from Mobile's Murphy High School in 1957, Zellner attended Huntington College in Montgomery, and though threatened with expulsion while he was in college for his involvement with student protests, Zellner graduated in 1961 with a degree in psychology and sociology. There's a movie about it now. And after spending a summer at Highlander Folk School in Montego, Tennessee, Zellner, this white son of a Klansman, grandson of a Klansman, was hired by SNCC to recruit white students to the movement. Until 1962, he was SNCC's only white field secretary. I'm a preacher, you know. I follow this brown-skinned Palestinian Jew named Jesus, who in the flesh challenged wrong even as a teenager. And his first sermon when he was a young man in his hometown was, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good news to the poor." These young people and thousands like them didn't have long years as credentials to take up the roles they took up. Instead, they answered the call with big hearts and grand ideals and learned minds. So I stopped by today to issue a call during this moment of moral crisis in America to say, we need you to graduate today and get up and get involved tomorrow. This country needs you. There's a story in the Bible about 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The story of the Hebrew children. They were at the University of Babylon when a narcissistic, lying ruler that loved to put his name on everything and every building demanded that they bow down. He threatened to cage them, and he threatened them with police brutality. He threatened to lock them up at the border. They were young, but instead they united together and they said, "O King, the God we know can deliver, but even if God doesn't, we won't bow to you." And graduates, you must choose likewise to graduate today. Get up together, get involved tomorrow, and not bow to greed, division, inequality, and injustice around you. You cannot merely get a job, a car, and quarantine your life. You must graduate from college and get involved in the movement. You must graduate, and your graduate must single more than just a graduation for private person. We need lawyers who want more than the biggest settlement. We need judges who want more than a judgeship, but who want justice. We need doctors who will care for the sick. We need preachers who will not preach just about things, but preach about things changing. America needs you to answer the call to stand up and stand against those things that are contrary to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the destruction of anybody's fundamental human rights. And I believe in you. I believe you must decide how you can be a part of the reviving of the heart of this democracy, because there are some who want to see the heart stop, but you must be the moral defibrillators that shock the heart of this nation. You must go from here, from commencement to commencing. Never in history has so much money been spent to resist equality. The gross sums of money being spent to take us backwards is lewd, is pornographic, is blatant, and is arrogant. These are troubling times. Corporations are treated like people, and people are treated like things. Banks get bailouts and loans with our money with no interest. Corporations get billions of dollars in the midst of a pandemic, and those who work the hardest can't even get sick leave. And the necessary full unemployment and living wages. And then those corporations, those banks turn around and lend us our money Sometimes in student loan, they lend it back to us with interest. These are critical times. And yet never before in history has there been a generation with so much at your disposal. Our parents and our foreparents in the struggle for justice and love did more with less than we have today. With less, they beat slavery. With less, they overcame the denial of women's right to vote. With less, they beat Jim Crow. With less, they beat lynching. With less, they beat the KKK. With less, they overcame the laws against our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. With less, they stood against fascism. With less, they knocked down apartheid. I once told a group that with less, no formal education, and despite having epilepsy, Harriet Tubman, a young woman, got 500 slaves out of slavery. She didn't have email, she didn't have texting or Twitter, she didn't have TikTok, she didn't have a car, she didn't have Clubhouse. She had faith in God. She had moss on the north side of a tree. She had a North Star in the middle of the night. And she had a will, a constitution, a moral constitution that would not accept wrong. She and so many before us did so much with so little. We must do so much more because we have so much more. And the truth is, when we come together, every time down through history when young people came together, young Frederick Douglass with young white evangelical preachers of his day, like William Lloyd Garrison, they brought in abolition. Women didn't have the right to vote. Young Quaker women, young white women, and African-American women, former slaves, many of them came together. They won that right. When Plessy versus Ferguson looked like the law of the land, a young Thurgood Marshall with young white, young Jewish, young black lawyers went to the Supreme Court. One of the members of the Supreme Court was a former member of the KKK, but their arguments were so strong and so powerful and so clear, the court verdict unanimously to overturn Plessy versus Ferguson. It was a young Rosa Parks, a young Martin King, a young Bayard Rustin, a young Reverend Reed who was killed in Selma, a young Viola Russa, a young John Lewis that tore down Jim Crow. God changed America by raising up change of the young folk from among the rejected. And that power is still with us. In 1993, I qualified for rejection. I was young, barely 30. Sickness hit my body. I stayed in the hospital 3 months, went through depression. Doctors said I might never walk again. Some people told me I could no longer pastor. My life was over. I might as well sign up for a nursing home. 12 years I was on a walker and in a wheelchair, pain all the time. But somehow in that time, my mind got together, my doctors got together, my pharmacists got together, my therapists got together, my swim coach got together, my families got together, prayer warriors got together. And a young doctor said, together with God, we're gonna make this thing happen. And somehow I may have a limp, but I'm up and I'm not where the expectations were. And so I'm calling you to graduate today, but to get up and get involved together. We must do this together. We need you. Because together, love can take on hate, mercy can take on meanness, justice can take on injustice. Together, we can pay people a living wage. Together, we can have health care. Together, we can truly measure poverty. Together, we can create the kind of infrastructure that will restore poor communities. Together, we can fully fund education. Together, we can cut a bloated military budget and direct that money to the things that will really be for national security. Together, we can treat immigrants properly. Together, we can stop all of these isms and phobias of one another and meanness toward one another. Together, protesting together, standing together. And so I want to bless you today with a benediction from a Franciscan. My blessing to you on this day of your graduation is may God bless you with a restless comfort about easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships so that you may seek truth boldly and love deeply within your heart. May God bless you with holy anger at injustice, oppression, and the exploitation of people so that you may tirelessly work for justice, freedom, and peace among all people. May God bless you with the gift of tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, or the loss of all they cherish, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and transform their pain into joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness of faith to believe that you really can make a difference in this world, so that you are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. and graduating class of 21, as you graduate and then get up and get involved, may the grace and the peace of God be with you and remain with you from this day and forevermore.
Thank you for your wonderful remarks, Reverend Barber. The class of 2021 will now be individually recognized for their achievements. Congratulations again to the class of 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Schrader. Congratulations, my dear graduates. My name is Joyce Knight. I'm the Associate Dean in the College of Arts and Sciences. Congratulations, you made it through one of the roughest years in 100 years. I'm immensely honored to recognize this resilient class of 2021. I will be reading your names today. The order will follow the booklet and is alphabetized by department, so anthropology, biology, and so on. I present to you the class of 2021. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science in Anthropology. Benjamin Asbury, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors cum laude. Avery Nicole Beck, honors magna cum laude. Elena Michelle Bunker. Madison Hawaya Duncan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Grace Catherine Early, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Kate Viola Ibert, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, honors cum laude. Adam Stewart Hiller. Carolyn Hauser, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Anita Jasinska, honors cum laude. Roshni Kal, honors magna cum laude. Colleen Megan Martinez, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Emma Josephine McNorton, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, honors magna cum laude. Oliver Pete Arasemana, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Elizabeth Petrovicius, honors. Sarah Isabel Posada Rodriguez, summa cum laude. Sky Richard. Bruno Riguzzi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in History. Nina Dominica Sakiri Pavlina, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Deandra Sarr, magna cum laude. Allison Duchovny Schultz, cum laude. Mazzy Tyke. Stavrula Constance Therios. Cameron Thomas. Jennifer Tuckerman, honors magna cum laude. Victoria Yanchuk, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Bioinformatics. Sarah Al-Shamari. Faris Mohammed Q. Al-Tunisi. Zain Ali Anwer, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Isabella Bucciferro, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Jesse Chen, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, honors summa cum laude. Mary Ann Choi. John James Colgan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Elias David Crum, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Adriana Daniela Enye, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors magna cum laude. Malia Sayeda Fatima, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Anne Janina Jankowski. Olivia DeMay Larson. Matthew George Lofredo, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, magna cum laude. Colin Ross Lorenzen. Laura Mascari, magna cum laude. Abdullah Mazer, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Sarah Miller. Rita Lauren Mormando. Keshap Sanjay Patel, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, honors magna cum laude. Rohan Rajagopal, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors magna cum laude. Thomas Patrick Scott, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Carolina Joanna Senkau, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Jihan Zhang. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Hamza Abazi. Omar Abed Al-Fatah, magna cum laude. Danya Abuwad. Almothana Abu Ghanem. Ola Abu Ghosh, cum laude. Maria Joanna Agoras, cum laude. Braulio Aguilar Lugo. Paige Amelia Alston, magna cum laude. Syed Salman Ahmed, honors cum laude. Pranadeep Akurati, cum laude. Yusur Alani. Samantha Alanis, magna cum laude. Constantine Telemahos Alikakos, honors cum laude. Olivia Lee Allen. Tamara Amjad Alkazaha, magna cum laude. Hadia Amanet. Alex Joseph Anil, cum laude. Philip David Anor. Ambreen Arif. Kaylee Megan Arnold. Shahad Ayub Assad. Jeremy Asensi, cum laude. Caroline Ayala. Mirza Mustafa Baig. Reese Angela Bailey, honors cum laude. Adia Baigora. Sylvia Patricia Balata, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, summa cum laude. Serena Rose Bales. Edward Charles Baumgarten, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Christine Delia Bebla, magna cum laude. And Kaya Behera, honors cum laude. Pavan Parotapa Bimali, honors summa cum laude. Alexa Elizabeth Blake. Michael Bowditch. Andrew Bonhe, honors cum laude. Rachel Sarah Borbath, honors magna cum laude. Jennifer Nicole Bostwick. Alexander Bowmangel. Hunter James Bourne, cum laude. Shannon Ebony Bowen. Rihanna Nicole Boyd, cum laude. Skylar May Brinkman, magna cum laude. Adrienne Brown, cum laude. Anna Maria Riak, honors, magna cum laude. Rodrigo Caballero Diaz. Benjamin Caceres, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, honors, magna cum laude. Roberta Calcucci Simonias, cum laude. Casey Elizabeth Campos. Tanya Isabel Carmona Pastrana, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Andrea Nicole Cartagena Cox. Joffrey Sergio Castro. Fabio Jacques Castro Martineau. Renzo Catignas. Asla Chokshi, cum laude. Victor Colleen. Alwyn Syriac. Sophia Margaret Dahlquist, honors, magna cum laude. Kaylin Ann Dietz, honors, magna cum laude. Tanya Demon, magna cum laude. Konstantinos Vasilios Dimitroulos, honors. Ashley Nicole Dorina, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology Anthropology. Haley Margaret Dufner. Maya Dunson, magna cum laude. Brian Wojciech Jacon. Samantha Iskander, summa cum laude. McKinley Kaylani Espinda Bannock, magna cum laude. Benjamin Isaias. Luke Zielinski Falkenholm, honors cum laude. Arij Fatima, magna cum laude. Zoya Fatima. Ethan Ferguson, magna cum laude. Carolina Beatriz Fernandez. Francesca Maria Flamboris, magna cum laude. Michael David Fleece, honors cum laude. Roberto Carlos Flores. Robert Jordan Fuentes III. John Gallison, cum laude. Vivian Marie Garcia. Lizette Garcia Peña, honors, magna cum laude. Darren Anthony Gauss. Sundip Kaur Gotra. Andrew Giancopoulos, cum laude. Samantha Elizabeth Giluli, cum laude. Allison Marie Glahe, summa cum laude. Aaron Anmiek Godecki. John Stephen Golden, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, summa cum laude. Sarah Golebiowska. Daniel Leonel Gomez, cum laude. Suma Gondi, magna cum laude. Andrew Joshua Gonzalez. Mara Simone Gooseby. Ryan Patrick Gracia. Frances Joan Grazik. Kristen Gunev. Brian Samuel Gutman, magna cum laude. Nicholas Tony Hanna, summa cum laude. Carolyn Hartwell. Christian Joseph Hecht II, summa cum laude. Taylor Suzanne Hickey, magna cum laude. Taylor Lynn Hildebrand, cum laude. Jessica Hochuk. Victoria Ann Hokevich, summa cum laude. Hadley Holmes, magna cum laude. Janatul Rauda Hossein, honors. Alexandra Eve Marie Hoy, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Musharat Islam. Katerina Ivankovich. Maheen Jabin, magna cum laude. Dana Jafal. Mackenzie James, magna cum laude. Olivia Jarzabek. Leith Javich. Kayla Jensen, cum laude. Justin Alexander Jimenez. Tim Joseph. Caroline Kukowska, cum laude. Talia Khan, cum laude. Joshua Kalapala, summa cum laude. Adil Kamran, summa cum laude. Miles Kanaipe, cum laude. Michelle Hannah Cantor, cum laude. Stavros Karambenis. Christina Eleni Katehis, cum laude. Rima Kavalako, cum laude. Benjamin Kenneth, cum laude. Patrick John Kennedy, summa cum laude. Adian Kesarovic, honors, cum laude. Neha Kadha. Sonam Khanna, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish. Hafsa Aisha Khatun. Taryn Kathleen Kilbane, magna cum laude. Kevin Young Kim. Casey Joseph King, honors, magna cum laude. Georgino Kinigby. Natalia Cleach, summa cum laude. Nicholas Kloskowski. Dominic Thomas Kragel. Kylie Nicole Price. Politmi Labrakis, magna cum laude. Chauncey James Lawson Weinard, honors, magna cum laude. Jack Liang, magna cum laude. Samantha Liu, magna cum laude. Nicholas Lala. Evelyn Rebecca Lupanku, cum laude. Caitlin Leanne Light, cum laude. Marielle Jean Macheski. David Machurovsky, summa cum laude. Marianne George Matapalil. Francesco Antonio Magnelli. Karolina Magnuszewski. Sarah Rosalie Severson Maguire, honors, magna cum laude. Nikita Mahay. Emma Fu Majeski, honors, magna cum laude. Christina Marie Magano, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, honors, summa cum laude. Gautam Manam, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, summa cum laude. Austin Joseph Mansfield, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, summa cum laude. Stephen Marino. Martha Marquez. Ana Louise Martinello. Brianna Martinez. Emily Martvalova, cum laude. Christina Matthew. William Michael Matty, summa cum laude. Curran George McConville, honors. Ashlyn McCormick, honors cum laude. Hannah Cecilia Milo, cum laude. Bridget Winifred Melody, summa cum laude. Maxwell Lawrence Menconi, honors, magna cum laude. Jocelyn Mendez. Kevin Mendoza. Zubia Merchant, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, magna cum laude. Meredith Mashevsky, honors, magna cum laude. Vincent Milano. Allison Jean Monterastelli, magna cum laude. Andre Moreno. Ariana Mormino, summa cum laude. Hind Mothana, magna cum laude. Nicole Mroskowski, honors. Yagoda Isabella Muscala. Anita Nasseri, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, summa cum laude. Jean Marie Nazareth. Dorian No, cum laude. An Nguyen, honors, cum laude. Jenny Duyen Nguyen. Lauren Ann O'Neill, magna cum laude. Mackenzie Taylor O'Donnell, honors, magna cum laude. Maria Obispo. Thomas Andrew Olson, Also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Latin, magna cum laude. Azel Nicole Oreta, cum laude. Adam Oregon. Vanessa Lee Paulo. Maria Catalina Pamenes Cantu. Anjali Hardik Parikh. April Marie Parker. Ashir Patel, summa cum laude. Sharmi Patel. Gopika Patel, magna cum laude. Harsh Patel, summa cum laude. Himali Patel, cum laude. Pathik Patel, cum laude. Radhika Patel, summa cum laude. Riddhi Ajay Patel. Riddhi Patel, summa cum laude. Sajna Jagdish Patel, magna cum laude. Shrina Patel, magna cum laude. Yati Patel. Caitlin Paul. Anastasia Pentia. Fong Pham, magna cum laude. Anne Lorraine Pilak. Christina Alexandra Pincham. Roxanne Joyce Pinpena. Bernard Paul Plavinsky, magna cum laude. Eric Peter Plawinski, magna cum laude. Justin Michael Pukarski, cum laude. Dima Kak. Marina Rocco, honors, summa cum laude. Lydia Ramatovsky, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Classical Civilization, magna cum laude. Hannah Eileen Un Reese. Anne-Marie Reimers, cum laude. Patricia Joy Guillermo Ribe. Eliana Parker Rice, magna cum laude. Troy Garcia Richardson, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Music. Natalia Susan Rivera, honors cum laude. Cassandra Rodriguez. Austin Patrick Rundy, cum laude. Timothea Anna Saitish, honors, magna cum laude. Bayan Rabe Salama, honors. Rana Saum, honors cum laude. Jennifer Salgado. Shayla Samano. Alexis Sanchez. Sophie Mahler Sandermain, cum laude. Rosel Tanajura Sanguenza. Daniela Santoro. Ashley Elizabeth Seary. Mark Siramet, magna cum laude. Mia Marcuzzi Safera. Syed Mikhail Ali Shah. Abigail Marie Shamden. Matthew Sherrelbean. Aneen Shatat, magna cum laude. Carl Eowyn Sheeran. Lillian Mary Shumail. Manar Siaj, summa cum laude. Salah Siddiqui, magna cum laude. Priya Singla, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Kelly Ann Sloven. Julia Catherine Smith. Liana Rose Smith, magna cum laude. Nancy Somo, summa cum laude. Isaac Sontag Milowski, cum laude. Victoria Olivia Sowa. Grace Sparkman, summa cum laude. Olive Luddy Spiegel, honors. David Starchek. Alexis Page Stevenson. Nicholas Roman Stokmal, magna cum laude. Emma Lauren Strevler, honors summa cum laude. Victor Manuel Suarez. Pauline Antoinette Sulit, summa cum laude. Veronica Catherine Shevchik, summa cum laude. Obafemi Winston Taiwo, magna cum laude. Trey Malik Thompson, magna cum laude. Jacqueline Helen Tomeki. Emilia Topor, summa cum laude. Anne Tran. Mary Tran. Panayotis Chiambas, magna cum laude. Alexandra Tisibera, summa cum laude. Michael Samir Tuheimer. Alexandra Joy Turnquist, magna cum laude. Divya Upadhyay, cum laude. Karina Urbina, Lucille Varga, Malina Anhi Vest, honors. Amanda Villarreal, Nicholas Vukotek, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, cum laude. Derek Robert Wagner, magna cum laude. Rashawn Martell Wallace. Daniel Waschuk, magna cum laude. Alexandra Kathleen Webster, magna cum laude. Sydney Weiss, magna cum laude. Grant Wild, cum laude. Jessica Wirtz, magna cum laude. Megan Catherine Witchker, cum laude. Mary Vowoshin, summa cum laude. John Akiba Kim Choi Wong, summa cum laude. Noor Yaqub, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Raiden Urandi, cum laude. Andrew Yee, magna cum laude. Abigail Elizabeth Yoler, honors cum laude. Samantha Zaremski, magna cum laude. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Biochemistry. Verena Enoch, magna cum laude. Hannah Almeida, magna cum laude. Yunju Bei, summa cum laude. Michael John Bowler, magna cum laude. Joseph Buccina, magna cum laude. Joseph Michael D. Meyer, summa cum laude. Jessica Diaz. Natalia Sage et City, cum laude. Jake Gaines. Dulce Sara E. Garcia, cum laude. Brooklyn Rose Gashorik. Trenton Nils Green. Samuel Charles Hardiman. George William Hildebrand, cum laude. Emily Ann Hodge, summa cum laude. Edison Her, honors, magna cum laude. Yazin Ibrahim, magna cum laude. Jeremiah William Jacob Dolan, honors, cum laude. Caitlin Ann Estioko Hamora. Heather Casca, honors, summa cum laude. Aisha Shafi Kotawala, cum laude. Samantha Michelle Linick, magna cum laude. Madeline Locke, honors. Jordan Andrew McQueen. Emily Juliana Marciniak, honors cum laude. Elena Christina McCarthy. Ashley Nicole Minor, honors magna cum laude. Michelle Koch Nguyen, magna cum laude. Brianna Jade Novak. Neva Rupa Patel, magna cum laude. Vraj Ronak Patel, honors, magna cum laude. Leah Mary Pietzman, magna cum laude. Amrita Rajesh, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Madeline Roddy, magna cum laude. Patrick Sawa. Isaac Forrest Schwartz, honors cum laude. Hannah Shawabka, magna cum laude. Thomas Robert Sisk, magna cum laude. Catherine Alicia Seaver, honors, cum laude. Sarah Elise Smith, magna cum laude. Catherine Jane Torma, summa cum laude. Fernando Vega. Miriam Adriana Velasquez, magna cum laude. Nicole Volchek. Abby Renee Wyman, cum laude. Jacob Martin Zeidner, honors. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Arts Classics in Classical Civilization, Greek, and Latin. Claire Sophia Dozin, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, magna cum laude. Carl Joseph Lewandowski, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, Classics, cum laude. Joseph Desmond Layden. Rachel Lynn Nezer, magna cum laude. Shanti Anna Marie Peterson, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, magna cum laude. Honore Fahey Walsh, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, honors. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Communication Networks and Security, Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Software Engineering. Walter Alcazar. Emmanuel Samtuchukwu Amobi, summa cum laude. Catherine Anderson. Cheyenne Ansari. Sarah Asufi. Zohair Anwar Awan. Sarah Bano, magna cum laude. Zachary Thomas Barrett, summa cum laude. John Michael Brooks, cum laude. Kelvin Bowie. Robert Boulay. Nicholas Erlan Cassier. Alberto Stefano Cattaneo, cum laude. Alexander Zhang Kang Chan, magna cum laude. David Tai Chang. Alexandra Tamar Crane, magna cum laude. Kevin Herman Criollo. Jalen Bryant Cruz. Emily Marie Daly, honors cum laude. Sugar Dashdava, cum laude. Molly Alana Dunn. John Eastwood, summa cum laude. Titus Joshua Philemon, cum laude. Kira Garol. Michael Gibbons. Yilin Guan. Jason Hachuk. Jose Eduardo Hernandez. Andrew Brent Himbaugh, honors. Claudia Grace Holtzclaw, summa cum laude. Gabriel Huerta Jr., cum laude. Eugene In. Nicole Intal. Anath Iyengar, summa cum laude. Iram Jihan. Thomas Andrew Johnson. Colin Jones, magna cum laude. Saad Naeem Khan. J. Kim. Dylan Cameron Clintworth, magna cum laude. Nicholas Iranush Polisinski. Evan Gerhard Karnerman. Emily Nicole Castor, magna cum laude. Alexander Kravitz. Alexander Kurbanyevich, magna cum laude. Alexa Joy Laval, magna cum laude. Benjamin Miles Landon. Jiayu Liu. Nadia Veronica Lloyd Santiago. Kaylin Louise Luck, honors cum laude. Timothy John Lutz, magna cum laude. Kelly May Merrill, cum laude. Nicholas Hippolyte Migash, honors, cum laude. Mustafa Mijwaz. Shahroz Mohsin. Irina Moitia Ashok, magna cum laude. Brandon Tyler Moy. Jacob Lewis Hennigan Narovsky. Franz Lurik Nastor. Nathaniel Natindim. Christian Mateo Panisi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, summa cum laude. Alec Christopher Park. Deepan Patel. Gabriela Pensa, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Kendall Nicole Phillips, honors. Harris Mohammed Kazi, magna cum laude. Mubashir Razvi. Ikra Raymond, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Morgan Marie Richardson, magna cum laude. Jamie Rose Ryman Schneider, magna cum laude. Michael Jeremiah Robinson, magna cum laude. Paul Dennis Roche III, magna cum laude. Stephanie Rodriguez, magna cum laude. Aaron Joseph Rosenweiss. Nazifa Saftari, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Kenzo Shearlink, cum laude. Samuel Sendelbach, honors. Akkad Hamid Shabila, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Ryan Story. Kevin Spakovitz, cum laude. Diala Tadros. Zachy Tanksley. Kieran Patrick Dennehy Taylor, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, summa cum laude. Godwin Nathaniel Timoteo. Ian Tompkins. Ryan Clinton Turner. Jacob Riley Visowski. Tien Vo Nguyen. Anne Marie Wagner, cum laude. Lawrence Walsh. Logan Joseph Walsh. McKenna Christine Walsh, magna cum laude. Anran Wang, magna cum laude. James Richard Weimer. Alexander Wojcik, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, cum laude. Ina Yermolaeva. Martin Zugschwert, magna cum laude. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology. Diana Aguirre, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Almera Ahmad Al-Khatib. Batikan Sevket Altan, magna cum laude. Alexander Benedict Always, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Mary Carmen Bahena, cum laude. Marcus Yon Betea, cum laude. Colin Francis Carr, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in History. Alexandra Catalan, summa cum laude. Crystal Valerie Cervantes, magna cum laude. Emma Demosthenes. Megan Elizabeth Dierna, honors cum laude. Reed Aidan Dubeck. Carly Paige Dulfer. Nicholas Joseph Ellish, honors, magna cum laude. Blake Elizabeth Everson. Trace Christopher Ferguson. Clarice Siobhan Fisher, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, magna cum laude. Patrick Jason Gajewski, cum laude. Brianna Gonzalez. Alondra Gutierrez. Aino Maria Helen, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Holland Herndon, honors, cum laude. Amanda Catherine Herman, honors, magna cum laude. Skylar Lillian Hill. Devin Nicole Howell, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Ayala Jaffery. Caitlin Therese Johnson, summa cum laude. Daniel Patrick Kane. Shannon Rose Kennedy. Jennifer Honrath. Alexandra Jean Kavit, summa cum laude. Rebecca Elizabeth Lockman. Danya Lloyd Santiago. Christopher Michael Lopez. Emmanuel Lopez. Reagan Lynn. Augustine Martinez. Alexander Jonathan Martino, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Christina Marie Mizuki, Honors Cum Laude. Sean Michael McMillan, Magna Cum Laude. Sarah Menchaca. Anais Marie Montalvo. Isabella Louise Moore. Ashley Rianne Mullins. Peter Nyko. Lauren Elizabeth Nusser, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology Cum Laude. Maureen O'Connor, Magna Cum Laude. James Fitzgerald Ozog. Lily Callisto Papanikou. Troy Braden Payne. Michelle Natalie Pena Herrera. Bree Anna Lee Perkins. Leah Jean Petrek, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology Cum Laude. Matthew Eric Peterson, Magna Cum Laude. Jennifer Quishpe, Cum Laude. Hannah Elizabeth Ragnoni, Magna Cum Laude. Miguel Reynolds. Jenna Rivera, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Rosa Isabel Rivera, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Summa Cum Laude. Jesus Rodriguez. Darian Romero. Emma Hope Rooney. Tina Miriam Samuel, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Summa Cum Laude. Lucero Stephanie Sandoval Lopez. Victoria Belen Santiago. Cameron Elizabeth Sachs. Riston Scheinebeck. David Reyes Silva. Bailey Nicole Stagiera, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Jenna Elizabeth Stone. Nancy Ann Sullivan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, Magna Cum Laude. Abigail Tapia. William Daniel Tischler. Julia Urbanik. Carolina Isabella Urbanik. Chantal Venetian. Kayla Adriani Velasquez, cum laude. Sofia Villeda, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Jessica Carol Nicole Wilbur, cum laude. Anna Marie Worth, cum laude. Sarah Mi Kyung Yun, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Sydney Karen Zwiebeck. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Jin Hong Sang. Adriana Julia Seeluch. Mario Enrique Guerrero, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. Giovanni Devante Villatuya Hayes, magna cum laude. Spencer Dana Jack. Jamal Thomas Koshi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Statistics. Luciano Leon. Jiki Lin, cum laude. Michael George Nega, magna cum laude. Rachel Niamizi Niarenda. Josephine Sanger Palmer, cum laude. Matthew Thomas Patronsky. Manuel Posas Trevino. Rathi Rajendran, cum laude. Patrick Michael Ronan. Adam Smotherman, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Kenneth Ralph Wallace III, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, summa cum laude. Jasleen Washington. Nicholas Wilburn. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Engineering Science. Cameron Ayton, honors cum laude. Sebastian Caceres, cum laude. Benjamin David Jakowski. Valentine Marie Jez, cum laude. Franklin Nicholas Jacobow, honors, magna cum laude. Shalaka Collar Candy, honors, cum laude. Priyana Deepak Kumar, cum laude. Max Kurinsky, cum laude. Brooke McDonald, magna cum laude. Maya Lydia McKenzie. Michael Ethan Mendoza, magna cum laude. Xavier Oberhelman, cum laude. Kyle Paul Kwan, cum laude. Shannon Roney, honors, cum laude. Jack Siegel. Noxie Shah. Sophia Sklar. Hannah Ray White, honors. Anna Ray Zachary. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English. Sonia Doan Anderson, honors cum laude. Christopher Andrade, honors cum laude. Rianne Katrine Bannicood. Alyssa Isabel Barajas. Catherine Ann Bennett, cum laude. Lilybeth Sierra Bittner. Tanya Bach, honors, summa cum laude. Darcy McGuire Brady, magna cum laude. Kayla Marie Brown, summa cum laude. Jordan Bush-Lom. Jennifer Byrne, honors cum laude. Aliana Lizette Capati. Hannah Danielle Coolidge. Sarah Marie DiNicolo, magna cum laude. Lauren Lorraine Douglas. Gabrielle Catherine Dufresne, summa cum laude. Noah James Elliott. Katie Elizabeth Engelbrett. Catherine Grace De Jesus Flores. Samantha Amber Gustafson, magna cum laude. Christian Mikhail Hines. John Martin Hood, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, summa cum laude. Angelica Rosemary Hussar. Damian Matthew Irachu. Lindsay Morgan Jenkins, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, summa cum laude. Samantha Ann Jervik, honors, magna cum laude. Justin Kelly, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, magna cum laude. Angela Knapp. Claire Mylin Lavender, summa cum laude. Leah Josephine Leisure, magna cum laude. Brian Joseph Maloney, summa cum laude. Kaylee Danielle Maloff. Michael Donovan O'Sullivan. Cameron Noel Orozco, summa cum laude. Melissa Orozco. Sydney Reese Westwood Ortiz, cum laude. Janet Perez, magna cum laude. Amalia Poulos, summa cum laude. Hannah Laura Rebman. Joshua Geno Roos, magna cum laude. Claire Emily Seacombe, honors cum laude. Ilma Separovic, cum laude. Cameron Louise Shepard, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, honors. Holly Van Zant Lagina. Susan Weiss Van de Veer. Sarah Grace Vinson, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology, honors, summa cum laude. Grace Catherine Watkins, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Classical Civilization, honors, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Marie Watts. Emily Winters, cum laude. Isabel Ruth Zuniga, magna cum laude. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts in Fine and Performing Arts, Dance, Fine Arts, Music, and Theater. Gabriella Lee Oth. Parker Grace Bailey, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Masha Bandulio, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Emily Renee Bean, honors, cum laude. Maya Berg, summa cum laude. Miranda Bentoncourt, magna cum laude. Laura Elizabeth Botte, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, summa cum laude. Genevieve Ann Boyle, magna cum laude. Lena Nicole Brearley, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry, honors, cum laude. Carla Bueno. Gianna Marie Carcagno, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, honors, magna cum laude. Claire Ann Cappuccioni Chaikin, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, honors, summa cum laude. Hannah Homore, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, summa cum laude. Nathalie Carol Corbett. Molly Shannon Cornell, summa cum laude. Kabir Dalawari, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Skate Dexter Ailing, honors, cum laude. Kira Marie Escobar. Rachel Marie Gallant. Mia Samantha Jamona, magna cum laude. Anna Getz, cum laude. Maria Mercedes Gutierrez Berrios, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, cum laude. Eric Michael Gaillet, honors, magna cum laude. Mia Elizabeth Way Hackett. Kate Margaret Hahn, honors, magna cum laude. Kateri Eileen Howblight, magna cum laude. Kathleen Elizabeth Harmon, magna cum laude. Ella Isabel Hyder. Anna Gonju Holly, summa cum laude. Heather Frere Hong Fong. Atasha Lucille Jafar, also receiving the degree Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Alexandra Bailey James, magna cum laude. Abby Kilani. Allison Mary Kobler. Mia Elizabeth Kraft, magna cum laude. Ciara Ashley Krasovic. Mary Lang, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Mihan Liu, honors cum laude. Elisha Violet Matchlet. Emma Marie Matix Wan, honors magna cum laude. Alexandra Migaletti Villasana, cum laude. Allison Lee Moores, honors. Hannah Grace Morrison, magna cum laude. Natalie Marie Murdoch, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, honors, summa cum laude. Julia Maureen Neufeld, honors, summa cum laude. Hui Tan Nguyen, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors, summa cum laude. Rory Harker. Lorem Ann Andalo P. Ging. Violet Pope, also receiving a degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, magna cum laude. Karina Elsie Probstein. Amelia Robinson, summa cum laude. Samantha Ann Sante, magna cum laude. Olivia Madison Shirebeck Jones, cum laude. Erin Elizabeth Schrock, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, cum laude. Madeline Margaret Scott. Catherine Smet, magna cum laude. Maxwell Lewis Stern, also receiving a degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, cum laude. Olivia Sullum. Melanie Joy Tassan Thomas, cum laude. Claire Ransom Trabu, honors, magna cum laude. Mia Triantofilu, honors, summa cum laude. Megan Catherine Chongali. Samantha Marie Oy, cum laude. Margaret Louise Walker. Daniel Ryan Warwick, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Theology, honors, magna cum laude. Margaret Claire Wechnora. Emma Frances Whitehorn, cum laude. Joseph Whittle. Julia de Oliveira Borba, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, honors, summa cum laude. Garvin Wolf Vandernoot, magna cum laude. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Forensic Science: Amy Ahern. Nico Andre Andrushevitz. Alec Anglin. Anthony Antelis, summa cum laude. Natasha Ophelia Nightshade Bayer. Javier Alberto Chavez. Danielle Coco, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Edie Marie Creamer. Tu Den. Ashley Dominici, honors, magna cum laude. Gabriela Nicole Estrada. Janica Joanne Anglacer Gonzalez. Moira Taylor Greeny, honors, magna cum laude. Jessica Lynn Haas, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Nathalie Andrea Izquierdo Llano. Sally Rue Keller, honors, magna cum laude. Jenny Matthew. Emma Jane McSpadden. Lorena Ramos. Nina Marie Saviosi. Samantha Taylor Seidenfuss, cum laude. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies: Ilya Mitib Abu Shaban, honors. Sultan Saud Al Saud. Zara Hussein Baltavi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity, honors, magna cum laude. Alexander Xavier Corcoru, magna cum laude. Amelia Fernanda Delgado Sana Materio, cum laude. John Patrick Fox, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, magna cum laude. Miles Angelo Fucci, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Michael Joseph Gilani, magna cum laude. Aisha Javed Gumra, magna cum laude. Nicholas Paul Grunwald, cum laude. Evangelina Gutierrez. Kathleen Hooks, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, magna cum laude. Frances Grace Jeter, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Kaylee Elizabeth Judd. Asil Saad Khatib, cum laude. Alyssa Krebs, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, cum laude. Michael George Lockenmeyer, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, magna cum laude. Amanda Louise Lopez. Aria Mullick, magna cum laude. Peter Joseph Nassif, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, magna cum laude. Carlos Guillermo Noel Chaco, cum laude. Alina Orantes, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, magna cum laude. Eleni Carolyn Pambukis, magna cum laude. Lara Salim, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Camille Scala, magna cum laude. Rahima Nadine Siddiqui, magna cum laude. William Ulrich Stanzik. Alyssa Stryker, magna cum laude. Gabriela Maria Tarnowski. Taylor Elaine Thomas, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. Sydney Williams, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, magna cum laude. Caroline Dorothy Winarchik. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in History. Frances Lucia Bartolucci, summa cum laude. Firdaus Bufath, honors cum laude. Sarah Marie Butterfield, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, magna cum laude. George Joseph Costello, magna cum laude. Catherine Dorothea Chaika, cum laude. Taha Dean, magna cum laude. Taylor Catherine Drew, honors, magna cum laude. Rafael Antonio Garcia, cum laude. Adam James Gentry, summa cum laude. Caleb Patrick Guzior. Abigail Marie Horn. Jenna Marie Jeffers, magna cum laude. Nicola Ilya Kaimakowski, magna cum laude. Noah Christopher Kelly, cum laude. Lewis King. Cordian Coates, magna cum laude. Allison Dana Lipinski, summa cum laude. Jeffrey Maxwell Lynch, honors, summa cum laude. Noah Riley Matthews, magna cum laude. Jacob McAloon, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, summa cum laude. Michael Noonan. Colin O'Connell, summa cum laude. Aliyah Ashik Patel, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, magna cum laude. Tess Felixada Powers. Brian Gary Sabath, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Alexa Mary Sherber, honors magna cum laude. Gregory Ralph Schultz, magna cum laude. Noah Serrana, magna cum laude. Mitchell Patrick Stevens, magna cum laude. Amanda Timlin, honors magna cum laude. Emily Elizabeth Van Cleve, magna cum laude. Megan Worth, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Theology. Luke Christian Yeager. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Human Services. Guadalupe Blanco, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Destiny Clarizio, magna cum laude. Jessica Janelle Gravis, magna cum laude. Annalise Elizabeth Patavina, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, magna cum laude. Komal Shah. Candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science in Data Science, Mathematics, Mathematics and Computer Science, Math Education, and Statistics. Judy Abumari, cum laude. Matthew Michael Byers, cum laude. Phoebe Lace Karstens, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Theology, summa cum laude. Murphy Genevieve Kavanaugh, cum laude. Patrick Chan, summa cum laude. Nicholas Richard Klatch. Charlotte Cornell, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors magna cum laude. Jackson Lee DeGay. Andrew Elliott, honors. Jean Darlene Erickson. Zijun Fang. Brianna Fernandez, cum laude. Samantha Fry, cum laude. Naomi Oyuki Gutierrez. Ashton Kane Hansen, cum laude. Alex John Harmon. Amanda Hensman, summa cum laude. Sydney Ray Howland, magna cum laude. Maria Hannah Jahangir. Samantha Michelle Johnston. Emrys Kaya, honors summa cum laude. Alexis Knapp Domina. Christopher Matthew Lee, cum laude. Renzhong Liang, Zile Liu, John Michael McDonald, Elena Anthe Maxouris, Catherine Florence Mediate, honors magna cum laude. Yan To Ngai, honors summa cum laude. Catherine Paulela, honors magna cum laude. Emily Ruth Peterson, honors summa cum laude. Catherine Elizabeth Payaza, magna cum laude. Daniela Pombo, magna cum laude. Francis Romero. B. Saab, magna cum laude. Julio Cesar Sanchez. Adam Michael Smith, cum laude. Catherine Stevens, magna cum laude. Henry Joseph Toney. Vincent Lorenzo Upreti. Dante Tina Yang, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Xiaomu Yin Nicole Zapotachny. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Modern Languages and Literatures. Stephanie Boval, summa cum laude. Victor Camacho, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Gianna Marie DiVincenzi, summa cum laude. Francis Fiegel, magna cum laude. Sarah Marie Flynn, magna cum laude. Lizette Garcia. Rianne Hennon. Lisbeth Herrera, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Yayara Edith Juarez Quintero, cum laude. Eleni Lafazanos, magna cum laude. Gabriela Monlapique Lammers, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Anthropology. Nadia Hanan Mohadin, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Grace Louise Redcheck. Elizabeth Marie Salcedo, cum laude. Leah Angela Judith Smeester. Catherine Ann Wasilick, honors summa cum laude. Grant Harlan Wothy, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Gary Francis Zeringa, Jr., cum laude. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Neda Abusade, cum laude. Katya Aguilar Sandoval, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Fatima Ahmed. Mayton Aksu, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, cum laude. Armin Ali Basic, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Susan Rad Al-Rifai, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Nicole Apostolopoulos. Wesley Wilson Asfora, magna cum laude. Meyer Azar, magna cum laude. Amanda Barthoshi, honors, magna cum laude. Sebastian Burke. Brianna Betancourt. Candace Betancourt Shimanovska, cum laude. Reagan Elise Bishop, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Women's Studies and Gender Studies. Lauren Lorraine Botcher, cum laude. Mackenzie Rose Bogart. Chloe Katerina Borsian, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Eric Bramer, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Isabel Amanda Brown, honors, magna cum laude. Nicole Elise Bowie, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors cum laude. Jordan Button. Isabella Ann Caputo. Jessica Michelle Christensen. Chigozira Maya Salam Chukwu. Sarah Davis Crawford, honors. Susanna Darbinian. Ajoa Dorcas Osafa Darkwa. Aaron Franklin Dioper, magna cum laude. Daniel Derilo, honors, magna cum laude. Koshal Rageshkumar Dolakia, cum laude. Cian Justin Domencina, honors, magna cum laude. Ashley Michelle Donald, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors, cum laude. Zelda Dudovitz. Matthew Francis Durek, cum laude. Andrea Catherine Ettinger, cum laude. Iman Riyad Elaga, honors, summa cum laude. Yalam Zawad, Shumet, and Kubari. Elizabeth Jean Erler, magna cum laude. Anna Isabel Eierman, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Nicole Farallon, magna cum laude. Erin Claire Foy, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, summa cum laude. Doria Fredrickson. Emily Rose Galloway, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Lauren Agnes Galinsky, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, cum laude. Angie Georgia Giordaris, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Michael Fidel Gunaim, cum laude. Nicholas Ronnie Gunaim. Maria Sal Giosa, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Noah Timothy Glendy. Georgia Sin Green. Brendan Haas, cum laude. Kayla Ann Harbor, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, magna cum laude. Hannah Elizabeth Hennessy, honors, cum laude. Taryn Nicole Holt, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Gloria Convallaria Hosu, honors. Isabella de Montina Holtz, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Daniel Michael Hudziak, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, cum laude. Faris Syed Hussain. Brian Elliott Ingram, magna cum laude. Sarah Ali Javed, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Alexandria Josephine Johnston, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, magna cum laude. Clea Kahari. Manasa Kanamila, honors, cum laude. Hassan Khan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, cum laude. Nabiha Khan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, summa cum laude. Andrea Mattia Karinsik, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Natalie Bianca Klusowski. Alexandra Kostic, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Selena Kostic. Marzena Kowalczyk. Jeffrey Daniel Crudis. Emilia Frances Lambert, summa cum laude. Kevin Lamentic, honors, magna cum laude. Lauren Lee, magna cum laude. Sydney Lorraine Lissy, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Marta Lutzik, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Julia Sarah Lyons, magna cum laude. Rohini Madigunta, honors, summa cum laude. Jamal Malik. Courtney Marie Malinowski, cum laude. Salvador Manrique, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Irina Miranda, honors, cum laude. Rohan Maida, summa cum laude. Adrian Alejandro Medina, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, cum laude. Savara Samil Mehta. Julie Marie McHale. Maria Merchant, magna cum laude. Tigis Cisse Mersha. Duriali Mubarak Mirjut. Meghana Mohan, honors. Victoria Alexandra Moros. Suha Imran Moten, honors cum laude. Alexa Murray, summa cum laude. Munis Nadim, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Dylan Siegfried Nelson, summa cum laude. Ni Nguyen Ta, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Lauren Marie Nowakowski, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, magna cum laude. Aaliyah Amber Olivier. Angelica Rocio Ortiz Andino, magna cum laude. Sylvia Anna Oshkopinski. Disha Patel. Ruby Patel. Ella Pelek, magna cum laude. Cole Pfeiffer, honors cum laude. Jocelyn Lizeth Pintado, cum laude. Aznia Rafiq, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors, cum laude. Yiwan Ri, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, magna cum laude. Victoria Ashley Roberts, honors, magna cum laude. Joelle Robinson, magna cum laude. Hetty Rosenberg, magna cum laude. Eileen Priscilla Saldivar, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Jesus Salomon. Thelma Samanasu. Celine Marie Sholin, honors, summa cum laude. Andrew Shahat. Mohammed Haad Shahid, summa cum laude. Clay Shiko, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Anna Marie Sheldon, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Kelsey Ann Sherry, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. Ria Shivasava, magna cum laude. Ariba Siddiqui, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Biology, honors. Taylor Marie Smith, honors, magna cum laude. Vanessa Snyder. Zachary Spivak, magna cum laude. Brianna Andriana Stokes, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Erica Gabrielle Strong. Alyssa Gold Suarez. Tyler Simberski. Sarah Syed, Honors, Summa Cum Laude. Alyssa Jover Tan. Sarah Tawfiq, Summa Cum Laude. Mackenzie Ellen Thomas, Honors. Ria Trivedi, Honors, Magna Cum Laude. Karolina Truskowska, Summa Cum Laude. Michaela Usleb, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Diana Valladares. Lauren Nicole Wayhausen, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Honors. Chloe Wittersham. Joshua Yoshikawa, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Maria Yunan, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Honors Cum Laude. Alexis Consuelo Zavala. Natalia Zielinski, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Honors, Magna Cum Laude. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, Malia Ahuja, Honors Cum Laude. Sophia Anna Blaha, Magna Cum Laude. Daniel Blau. Hunter Pierce Darman, S.J., also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Theology. John William DeBacker, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Honors Cum Laude. Alexandra Morgan Frisch, Honors Cum Laude. Thelma Grace Hall, Honors Summa Cum Laude. Rachel Clarice Hong Fong. Marcus Peter Hultgren. Scholastique Iracunda, Cum Laude. Nicole Jaskula Dybka. Brian DeMarcus Kearney. Sarah Kahn, Honors. Brett Michael Kaufman, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, Magna Cum Laude. Molly Elizabeth Klug, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Summa Cum Laude. Canon Isaiah Larison. Sasha Michelina Lewis. Noah Morris, Cum Laude. Hasti Mogafagi, Cum Laude. Barney Beelan Noor, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Summa Cum Laude. Gabriella Pettit, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Shayna Vielka Petrowski, magna cum laude. Joseph Ribcho, cum laude. Madeline Jane Ryan, cum laude. Samuel Salmaran, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, summa cum laude. Alina Stankaitis, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Devashri Rajesh Thakur, magna cum laude. Ella Faye Walker. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Physics, Biophysics, Physics and Computer Science, and Theoretical Physics and Applied Math. Matthew Evan Asher. Ryan Peter Bonet, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Honors, summa cum laude. Zalia Ann Cook, Honors, magna cum laude. Connor Michael Cunningham, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, summa cum laude. Abigail Mina Davenport. Justin Joffrey Hameline, cum laude. Luke Peter Ignell, Honors, magna cum laude. Salahaddin Jaradat. Andres Santiago Harkin, cum laude. Arthur Charles Kraus. John Paul Mikos, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, magna cum laude. Daniel Moore. Turner Mularkey. Maria Francis Nowicki, Honors, cum laude. Adam Christopher Pleasant. Jarrett Solito, Honors. Oliver Noyes Stitt. Rachel Strom. Maxwell Curtis Theomeyer, Honors. Joshua Alex Washington, cum laude. Serena Ruth Watson, magna cum laude. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Rikia Abdullah. Daniel Scott Achtel, cum laude. Alina Ahmed, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Grayson Alexander, Honors, magna cum laude. Mustafa Altanak. Rian Ambrose. Philip Arrington IV, magna cum laude. Eloise Rose Asfora, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Lawrence Augustin, cum laude. Jennifer Lynn Becker, magna cum laude. Joseph William Bedortha, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, Honors. Madison Louise Berry. Maya Victoria Berry, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in French, cum laude. Jacob Bevan, summa cum laude. Hayward Blake. Aiden Sammy Boustany. Chelsea Boyd, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in History, magna cum laude. Nicholas Boyle, Honors, magna cum laude. Claire Breeze Oswald, cum laude. Danielle Marie Brunk, cum laude. Beck Morgan Burchett, Honors. Abigail Isabella Campos, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish. Emily Ann Cohn, magna cum laude. Raven Cole. Lauren Anne-Marie Collins, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, Honors, magna cum laude. Jacob Dylan Crozier. Nicole DeMaria, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Honors. Vanessa D'Angelo, cum laude. Kylie Rose Dodd, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, Honors, magna cum laude. Nikita Doda. Madeline Drescher, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Esther Oluwapelumi Durosinmi, cum laude. Julian Thomas Dutton. Drew Englander. Evan Michael Einsweiler. Andrew Estefanos. Claire Cameron Evans, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Women and Gender Studies, Honors, summa cum laude. Rachel Danielle Evans. Martin Henry Flores, magna cum laude. Jordan Lawrence Foberg, Honors, magna cum laude. Charles Anthony Francis, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Italian, magna cum laude. Ruby Guadalupe Garcia. Kaylin Denise Glass. Slade Glore. Emma Mackenzie Gunther, cum laude. Connor Wilson Donaldson, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Isabella Joy Giuliata, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, cum laude. Sarah Guza, cum laude. Labib Ansamos Haddad. Taylor Nicole Hairston. William Hansberry, magna cum laude. Brenna Harmon. Kevin Michael Healy, magna cum laude. Alexander Christopher Hens. Madeline Kiyoko Horiuchi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Honors, magna cum laude. Kara Nicole Hubert Harris. Ellen Irene Hunter, cum laude. Bahir Hussein, cum laude. Lauren Gabrielle Juarez Diran. Aya Kayali. Molly Scarlett Kozlowski, honors, summa cum laude. Hannah Larson Kreischer, magna cum laude. Claire Crookton. Kartik Kulkarni, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Elizabeth Ray Kupchella. Brendan Larson. Lydia Lieberman, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, cum laude. Kelly Michelle Maloney, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, magna cum laude. Audrey McCann. Christopher David McDonald. Joshua Liam Melton. Georgianne Michael, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. Isis D. Miller. Jane Elizabeth Miller, honors, magna cum laude. Megan Catherine Mullenbach, magna cum laude. Alexandra Melito Nicolaisi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English. Luke Thomas Okiniro. Michaela Domenica Ostapa, cum laude. Eric Michael Paczynski, magna cum laude. Aldrin Jude Datun Panganaban, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Zachary Peavy. Werner Alfonso Pellon Bloom. Braden Patrick Perry, cum laude. Maxim Polishuk, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, summa cum laude. Emma Catherine Fieres Porteous, cum laude. Alejandra Marcela Portillo, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Aaron Powdermaker. Brianna Aaliyah Powell, honors, cum laude. Cassandra Powell. Yuridani Reyes. James Walter Roddy, honors, magna cum laude. Kieran William Rose. Madison Saavedra, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, honors, summa cum laude. Joseph Dominic Salemi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in History. Dominic Edward Scavuzzo, magna cum laude. Emma Margaret Schrader, honors, magna cum laude. Justin William Savali. Nora Scott, magna cum laude. Alma Seferovic, summa cum laude. Kanita Seferovic, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Nathan Shamoun. Leah Elizabeth Smetansky, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Economics, honors, summa cum laude. Sarpreet Sodhi. Keely Jean Sande, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, honors. Kaylin Ada Renee Strawbridge. M.C. Sullivan, cum laude. Andrew Riddell Taylor, honors, magna cum laude. Marissa Tiango, cum laude. Sydney Travis, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies. Summer Cheyenne Utsig. Daniel Velasquez. Margaret Elizabeth Walker. Jasmine Michelle Washington, magna cum laude. Karina Rose Wensjo. David Patrick White, honors, cum laude. Lucas Schreiber Willman. Emily Marie Wismes. Madison Lindsay Wolf, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, cum laude. Caroline Grace Woodmansey, cum laude. Rongju Zhang. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Maria Nicole Abouad Sadeh. Mohammed Zain Abusharik. Aisha Ahmad. Mary Ann Allah, magna cum laude. Samad Alvi, cum laude. Lizette Alman, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Theology. Laila Amin, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, honors, magna cum laude. Julia Andreoni, summa cum laude. Shana Hayadara Ansari, cum laude. Aliyah Arif, honors, magna cum laude. Bisma Arif. Lena Ayesh. Yazaman Baba Muhandi. Isabel Baca. Eva Mackenzie Bear. Najid Mohammed Baig. Maria Salomia Bandrisky, magna cum laude. Sabrina Catherine Barber, cum laude. Christopher Barrera. Anita Marta Barshevsky. Michael Gerald Bean. Samantha Emily Bejarano. Adorina Bethishu, honors cum laude. Sheridan Elise Bochniak. Madeline Grace Boggs, cum laude. Kirsten Elizabeth Bonish, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology. Julia Browning. Maria Bowie, cum laude. Trevor Bunger, honors, magna cum laude. Ashley Kiyong Berger. Jalen Marie Bykowski, magna cum laude. Rita Kale, magna cum laude. Amira Ashley Carter, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology, cum laude. Anna Marie Carey. Isabella J.C. Castro. Jacob Castro. Jorge Andres Cesar Garcia. Nayeli Cervantes Jimenez. Parisa Chuduri, cum laude. Mary Alessandra Ciancio, magna cum laude. Sarah Rose Cincinello, cum laude. Julia Evelina Conoyer, honors, magna cum laude. Nathaniel Joseph Cousineau. Hannah Ray Crowley. John Cunningham. Jordan Nicole Dale. Caleb Hung Dalfion, honors, magna cum laude. Sasha Danielle De La Cruz, summa cum laude. Rebecca Elizabeth DiPiero, honors, summa cum laude. Ethan Robert Diley. Zoya Dianji. Sabrit Kaur Dot, magna cum laude. Lauren DiMaggio, cum laude. Chloe Lynn Diaz, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. Giselle Diaz. Elisa Diaz Murguia. Diane Andrea Dimoff, summa cum laude. Carolyn Disla. Sandra Dybala. Emily Carolina Diza. Autumn Lynn Eels. Jocelyn Escobar Jimenez. Sandra Michelle Fahmy. Kate Laureen Fanny, cum laude. Bridget Mary Farley. Camilla Elena Fernandez Pages, magna cum laude. Alina Aisha Ferozuddin, magna cum laude. Alexia Flores. Camilla Angela Flores, honors, magna cum laude. Zuhi Flores. Lena Flores Wolf, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Women and Gender Studies, magna cum laude. Charles Jude Fode. Kayla Marie Forsberg. Marissa Eleazar Franke, magna cum laude. Maylee Galindo, magna cum laude. Xenia Gama. Benito Garcia, honors, magna cum laude. Blanca Celine Lebao Gesio, magna cum laude. Mariah Susan Gerulis. Nikki Jelani, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Human Services, cum laude. Freya Mackenzie Glenn, cum laude. Christina Glenn. Jessica Gutierrez. Isabel Elizabeth Guzman. Christine Hahn. Farah Harp, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, summa cum laude. Celia Catherine Hardiman, cum laude. Amber Zabin Hassan. Abigail Kate Hayworth, summa cum laude. Anna Bai Hines, magna cum laude. Jenna Marie Heltzel. Amanda Lynn Henderson, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, magna cum laude. Beverlyn Andrea Hernandez Fiolo, cum laude. Madeline Marie Holt. Jacqueline Rebecca Hurst. Amatul Halim Husna, magna cum laude. Tiffany Lai Huynh. Isabella Rose Ingarafia. William Irvin, cum laude. Sierra Marie Euro, magna cum laude. Allison Ivy, cum laude. Megan Lee Japsik, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology. Tessa Jasinski. Janae Tiffany Jones. Canella Nicolette Calivayaris. Grace Kaminsky, summa cum laude. Richard Kath. Harkeet Kaur. Casey Ann Kajik, cum laude. Michael Jude Kenny. Jamie Megan Kessler, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology, honors summa cum laude. Destiny Keys. Talha Khurshid. Andrew Kiwan Kim. Whitney Lynn Knight. Waldemar John Kolisinski. Danae Georgia Corneros. Susana Koshelniak. Megan Crumwide. Carter Joseph Kukla. Caitlin Rose Lang, summa cum laude. Tessa Annie Langan, cum laude. Denis Sierra Lawrence. Alexandra Dominique Leidig. Gabriella Annabelle Lerner, cum laude. David Antonio Liscano. Zachary Matthew Levy. Parker Ryan Light. Taylor Elizabeth Lippard, magna cum laude. Marbala Lopez. Michaela Nicole Ludwig, cum laude. Joyce Shu King Lum. Shirley Liu. Isabella Grace Malik, summa cum laude. Natasha Sophia Mahmood. Yama Umid Mahmoudi. Chelsea Maldonado. Chloe Ann Manolo, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in French, cum laude. Catherine Grace Martinez, magna cum laude. Emily Martino. Mirella Masinovic. Steve Matthew. Martha Mayora. Angela McCann Williams. Marian Lily S. McCarthy. Jamie Lynn McDowell. Roisin Claire McMahon, magna cum laude. William McMullen. Isamar Medina. Sarah Mirza. Lauren Marie Murfeld, summa cum laude. Hannah Milas, cum laude. Carly Minch. Amar Burhan Muhammad. Daniela Molestina, magna cum laude. Grace Molloy, magna cum laude. Nina Marie Montello, cum laude. Tanya Moore. Samantha Andrea Moreno. Carolyn Helen Moskal. Christian Patrick Moyer. Carla Sophia Nazario. Samantha Marie Neri, summa cum laude. Nguyen Mi Nguyen. Vincent Min Nguyen. Hero Vlade Nikolovsky, honors, summa cum laude. Natalie Obrakta. Maribel Ornelas, cum laude. Rohan Paladugu. Anjali Patel, cum laude. Paraji Patel, magna cum laude. Aaron Shaylin Pater, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology. Hannah Morgan Paul, magna cum laude. Marissa Teresa Pelicani. Simplicio Perez. Brianna Margaret Person. Jasmine Meenakshi Puria, magna cum laude. Elise Nicole Pernsley. Iman Amina Kadir, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, cum laude. Alexandra Maria Quigley, summa cum laude. Shivani Rami, cum laude. Arely Stefania Ramirez. Jose Angel Ramirez, magna cum laude. Kendall Kathleen Redwood, magna cum laude. Kira Joy Reed, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology, honors, summa cum laude. Joseph Michael Reish, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, magna cum laude. Jacqueline Portugal Reese. Edith Reynaga, cum laude. Olivia Richards, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology, cum laude. Matthew Alex Tango Ramondo. Leah Yocheved Richal, summa cum laude. Maria Dolores Rodriguez. Sofia Elise Rodriguez, magna cum laude. Cassandra Ray Rojas. Michael Rose, cum laude. Efrata Sassohula, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in African Studies in the African Diaspora, summa cum laude. Rinad Saleh. Norris Isora Sanchez. Bailey Sanderson, summa cum laude. Allison K. Shoy, magna cum laude. Claire Schwartz, cum laude. Christina Sago. Karen Yamil Serrano. Zanira Raymond Shahid, magna cum laude. Saba Shawani, magna cum laude. Megan Shanahan, summa cum laude. Sachita Neha Sharda, cum laude. Caitlin Catherine Simonsma, cum laude. Talia Mercedes Sierra, honors. Alec Michael Sisler. Holly Ann Smith, magna cum laude. Jasmina Brendaya Smith. Catherine Therese Spencer, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in French, honors, cum laude. Sophie Hope Stanley. Brooke Victoria Stewart. Alexandra Marie Strauss. Giselle Lourdes Talabak. Stephanie Tamras, magna cum laude. Wajia Tang. Sidra Timor, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Criminology. Samira Araxi Tuerto Zaharian. Alexis Tina Turmak. Daniela Vanessa Ugalde, Honors Magna Cum Laude. Nathan Kyle Valencia. Jacqueline Vargas Lara. Alexandra Vasilieva, Honors. Thomas Alexander Veal. Madison Suzanne Veras, Summa Cum Laude. Cindy Noemi Vilagran Lopez, Cum Laude. Isabel Figueroa Villalobos, Cum Laude. Olivia Villarreal. Aisha Vimawala. William Vincent. Julia Marie Visner, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Spanish. Sarah Lynn Visvardis. Dialini Vivek. Mary Catherine Watson, Summa Cum Laude. Jordan A.C. Watts. Christopher White, Cum Laude. Kaylee Marie Wilson. Emilia Felicia Wojciech, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies and Spanish, Cum Laude. Lily Yance. Mary Umaran, Cum Laude. Maya Youssef, Magna Cum Laude. Sanja Ali Zainalabuddin. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies and Theology. Brittany Reagan Barlin. Maxwell Dean Diabas, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in English, Summa Cum Laude. Rachel Olivia Groth, Magna Cum Laude. Julia Antonietta Rotandi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Honors, Magna Cum Laude. Catherine Joyce Valoroso. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Sociology Anthropology. Grace Andrade. Diosa Aziza Anau Bahi. Nicholas Michael Birdie. Emily Ann Drain, Summa Cum Laude. Margaret McDade Farrell. Lila Galindo. Maria Ana Garcia, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, Summa Cum Laude. Persephone Mezeray Garcia. Caroline Gavin. Nainina Antonia Gay, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, cum laude. Gabriella Geroulis. Jennifer Hazen, cum laude. Noah Michael Hornberger, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, cum laude. Camille Jackson, magna cum laude. Destiny Immaculée Joseph. Samantha Lynn Malstead. Bridget Elaine Matthews. Molly Melby Mirhabi, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, summa cum laude. Fabian Patino, cum laude. Chloe Marie Povalko. Sayeda Khadija Tukubra Kadri. Elena Rose Richards, magna cum laude. Sanath John Sajan. Avery Schatz, summa cum laude. Tomo Stephen Sensor Mora. Grace Elizabeth Shapiro, cum laude. Francesca Spizo, magna cum laude. Jasmine Starks. Anna Marilyn Trojan. Kathleen Washington. Kyle Winterraud. Zoe Margaret Zelkin. Receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Women and Gender Studies. Emma Jean Dempsey, honors summa cum laude. Francesca Marchese Gonzalez, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Arts in Global and International Studies, summa cum laude. Amanda Jean Hogarth, summa cum laude. M.A. Johnson, honors, summa cum laude. Laura Patricio Belize. Jade Rydell, also receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Psychology, magna cum laude. Lauren Ann Zeitz, magna cum laude.